Hello friends, today I am going to explain about the viral infections. The viral infections infecting the respiratory system include rhinovirus, adenovirus and influenza virus. Rhinovirus, everybody knows that it causes common cold. Coming to the digestive viruses, rotaviruses which causes the gastroenteritis in children, and it causes noroviruses causes gastroenteritis in adults, and hepatitis viruses from A to E, and B and C are very infectious. And coming to skin eruptions with systemic effects includes the herpes simplex virus 1, herpes simplex virus 2 and the varicella zoster virus which cause chicken pox. And systemic with hemopoietic, that means it affects both in systemic, and it affects the hemopoietic cells, like in Epstein-Barr viruses which affects the B cells, B lymphocytes, and HIV 1 and 2 will infect the helper T cells, that is T lymphocytes, and the cytomegaloviruses which infects the macrophages, B cells and T cells. Coming to the central nervous system, the polio viruses and the Jones Cunningham's virus. Okay, these are the general viral infections which affect our body. There are respiratory system, digestive system and systemic with skin eruptions, that means blisters will be formed in our skin, and systemic with hemopoietic. This is cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, HIV 1 and HIV 2, and the CNS poliovirus and the John Cunningham's virus. Coming to the today I am going to tell about the herpes simplex virus 1 and the 2. And these herpes simplex virus 1 and 2, one will usually affects the upper part of the trunk, that is upper part of the tongue, that is a face, like that. When coming to the herpes simplex 2, it affects the genital organs, and it can also transmit from via vertical transmission, that is during delivery of a baby from the birth canal. uh, Now herpes simplex virus is a double stranded DNA virus. Usually it includes the three phases. When it is infected to a person via saliva or by contact, it in the skin it replicates and produces virions and causes vesicular lesion of epidermis. If you consider this as an epithelial cells, the virus when the virus infects the one epithelial cells, these cell undergo intracellularly and produces many virions. These virions will affect the adjacent cells also, and producing the many virions, like that it will affect the adjacent cells rapidly, and there will be disruption or degeneration of these cells, causing production of the blisters in acute phase. In acute infection, which is mostly affecting one is the skin. This is acute infection. During acute infection, some virions also enter through the sensory neurons in a retrograde fashion, and in a neuron cell body there will be a latent period, that means they will be stay there for a period of time and produces some virions of them, and it will be some period, and later when the person immune system is immunocompromised, then these viral virions will again recurrent, that means they will reinfect the skin and the mucous membrane in the body, and then the symptoms may be or may not be present in the recurrent time. Okay, it will recurrent phase is seen generally in the compromised patient, not in immunocompetent. If a person is immunocompetent, then there will be no seeing of the recurrent infection. Coming to the morphology of the HSV infected cells, when we take the histopathological sections of a skin, when we see the cells under the microscope, you are going to see an intranuclear inclusion bodies which are Cowdry type A. That means the HSV infected epithelial cells Intranuclearly, then generally the intranuclear will be basophilic when but here the HSV infected cells are eosinophilic. That means if you take a histopathological section, that you are going to see, generally you are going to see a basophilic nucleus, but here you are going to see the eosinophilic nucleus with the pale eosinophil. Okay, remember that. That is the histological section. And morphologically, from externally, you are going to see the in the skin you are going to see the fever, blisters or cold sores. That means the blisters contain the edematous fluid. That means edematous fluid means this epithelial cells is going to be edematous and it is going to degenerated and ulcerated. That is going to see as a fever, blisters or cold sores around in the face, usually in the face. Gingivosomatocytitis, that means infection of both gingiva, and somatocytitis means stoma means mouth. There will be inflammation of both gums and mouth. If the infection is seen in the fingers, then you are going to call it as herpetic whitlow. This is very important. What we call when it is infected with the fingers, herpetic whitlow. When it is going to infect the cornea, then it is known as the there are two types infection in the cornea: hepatitis, herpes somatic keratitis, herpes cytolytic keratitis. Means there will be no immunological response in the somatic keratitis. There will be immunological response in somatic keratitis, and there will be no immunological response in cytolytic keratitis. Herpes, when it is going to infect the brain, then it is called as herpes simplex encephalitis. Hence we are going to see the symptoms are the blisters, that if it infects the skin, if it infects the cornea, causing the herpes somatic keratitis and herpes cytolytic keratitis. If it is going to infect your brain, then it causes the